So I made a video last night and Quinn watched it and I thought it was pretty interesting, and I was asked to watch Quinn watching it. So we're going to do a little bit of low effort content here. He doesn't take too long to go through it, which is good.
How did he die? On my corpse. No, you don't have.
How did he die?
Oh shit, we get gagged! Oh shit! Run, bro, run. It's fine. I'm good.
What is he doing?
I'm good, bro.
Oh, he took the gear off his character.
Can't be, bro.
Okay.
Yeah, dude. Bozos.
You to raise up
Game version. Some other. Oh, okay, here we go. One is first off.
Old 3.
Where's it going, bro?
Okay, so he's like watching his like small camera of the rain or something. I don't know why he's doing that.
Put it in the hot tub cam.
How's it going, Kripp here? We have a Diablo 4 video for you guys.
Back. I'm listening though.
Again. Now keep in mind I am recording this right after a 2-day almost straight play session and streaming and all that. And it's been fun, but you know, I'm a little bit spent. It has been quite a wild ride, and rather than focusing on, you know, small topics and making a bunch of, you know, short videos, I'm gonna basically give you guys. Okay, the truth is that if I make like 10 videos that are like more heavily topicked and quiet, the full briefing of what went down with the Server Slam event, which is a 2-day recently announced play session weekend of Diablo 4, and we get Diablo 4 in like 2-3 weeks or something, so it's coming right up. And we're going to start with the beginning. And there are a lot of changes. If you played in like the open beta stuff and you were like, oh, I'm definitely going to play this, well, you might want to reconsider a few things. When I move my chair. I'll go over my journey of reconsidering some of those few things. So, basically, YouTube algorithm is a pile of crap. And if I make like 10 Diablo 4 videos, my Hearthstone videos get less recommended. I don't know for sure, but that's generally what tends to happen. And, Dex, go sleepy. Sleepy. Yeah, I kind of like the long vlog format anyway, so it's nice. But when Diablo 4 comes out, with Diablo 4 being like Giga search algorithm, I'll probably do less long vloggy content, at least for some videos. First off, we're going to get into the interesting parts of patch notes. Not too long ago, they made a post on the Diablo 4 forum things, the news community site they have. Open beta retrospective, transforming feedback into change. And you know, we all saw this, we all read this, and this is the changes that we were going to get for the server slam. And you know, I'm starting to read through. It's like Barbarian, a flat 10% passive reduction. Wow. Whirlwind does more damage, double swing, more fury. Wow, that seems pretty good. Wow, that's exciting. All right, read through the sorcerer. Oh, there's some sorcerer nerfs. Charge bolt damage increased. Oh, mana cost decreased. Well, maybe I'll try charge bolt. Decrease the damage of chain lightning. It was a little bit stronger than the other skills. That's true. It's not self-reacts. Quinn just went to take a shit or something. He comes back in a few minutes. Here's the cooldown of, Incinerate was unplayably bad. Firewall will now spawn underneath enemies more frequently using the enchant bows. Wow, that's pretty good. And even things that, you know, were nerfs. Minions will die more often, requiring players to utilize corpses more often. Wow. So this was not like an out-of-context post. This post was like, I don't know, 3 days before the server slam started. Like, it was right before. It's not I don't feel it's like they later decided to do more changes, because there were so many other changes. They knew, I think. Corpse mechanics. Wow, increase buff. All right. Well, that seems pretty good. Let's log right in and see what happens. Well,
Log in.
they have this thing in Diablo 4 where they data mine the patch when it becomes downloadable. So there's a few sources of these. Honestly, there isn't one that I found to be complete, but I just want to quickly go over some of the incomplete ones, because, you know, no one did a great job. It was a bit short notice. Thing is, no one really expected that these patch changes would be that different from the data mined version of the game that we got now versus a few weeks ago.
So yeah, I just used this website. This website is missing the gem changes, and it's missing all the legendary abilities that got changed. And some of the legendary abilities got changed in huge ways. We're not talking trivial stuff. Like, one of the legendary abilities took more than half the damage away from Upheaval, which was the main skill that Barbs used. Another legendary ability was for Druids. It used to more than double the damage your minions did, and they changed it to do like 20% increased minion damage. So if you stack that up with the tripling of the active for the Druid minions, which are like, oh my god, Druid minions viable, but then they nerf the absolute crap of the legendary. I think it's an overall good change, because, you know, you can use those minions without having to use the legendary now, right? And that's cool, because you can play more of like a hybrid type of Druid, and I think the Druid identity is to combine different playstyles in the same build. So I think that's great. Don't get me wrong. I think that's great. But I think it's very misleading to say that they're going to buff the Druid skills and have them do 3 times damage, and then not mention that they're completely gutting the minion damage for Druid. The net result of that is that the active skills do like 30% more damage if you have like the legendary. But the passive damage of the minions was actually massively nerfed. Super misleading. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm not the bad guy here. So just for Barbarian, just, you know, stun, a little bit more fortify. That's, you know, it's not bad. Lucky hit chance, Hammer of the Ancients goes up. You know, the violent Hammer of the Ancients. Wow, I guess no one was using Hammer of the Ancients. Whirlwind, 25 cost per second. That's a little steep, but the damage is up, which is pretty good. All right, so far it is, you know, it is in line with what we saw there. More Fury double swing. All right. Oh, what? Wait, hold on. What are these? Upheaval, lucky hit chance increase. Okay. Direct damage with an enemy using not Upheaval causes the next one to deal, instead of 8, stacking 10 Tripped up
times.
a little
So
there.
it does
Reading is hard.
130 instead of 180. Massive Upheaval nerf. And not only this for Upheaval, but there were massive nerfs to legendary powers, primarily the powerful ones for Barbarian. The one that allowed Upheaval to stack to a ridiculous amount, yeah, that one is just barely better if you're playing an Upheaval build rather than some of the other ones. Like I said, this list is not complete. Iron Skin absorbs more maximum life. Well, that sounds pretty good. More, wow, Iron Skin buffs. I was looking at the Iron Skin node, and people kept telling me how Iron Skin is so good. I'm not suggesting that streamers know everything, but I did a pretty good job, I thought, to look at all the different Barbarian builds the streamers were playing. None of them were using the buffed Iron Skin. Like, Iron Skin, cooldown 14 seconds. Steal yourself, gaining a barrier that absorbs 50% of your missing life? What the fuck? So if you're at half life, it gives you a barrier that's like 25% of your life? What a joke! Absorbs 10% more of your maximum life.
Heal for 10% of the barrier's original amount as life per second. This is so bad. Like, use it at 0% life? Sure. Okay. Challenging Shout, duration nerfed. Challenging Shout, thorns nerfed. Rallying Cry, effect nerf. Rallying Cry, bonus, effect nerf. Resource from Rallying Cry, nerfed. War Cry, duration nerfed. Nearby allies duration, nerfed. The bonus of War Cry, nerfed.
God damn!
The War Cry, life as fortify, nerfed. Kick, nerfed. Leap, sure.
Not
Iron
nerfed,
Mail.
Gotta get your narrative right here.
You know, sure, whatever. Buffed a few things,
Wrath
okay.
of Berserker, a little bit different.
I want to point out that the kick had a 100% lucky hit chance, and they made it like 50. That actually changes the skill, because kick originally was designed as a force trigger of lucky hit, which is a really cool mechanic. They buffed Leap Slam from like 30 to 60, but it's still not 100. So Barbarian actually lost the identity of an instant lucky hit trigger, which is actually really cool, I thought. So rip in peace. I think that's a bad change. The other ones are mostly balanced, but I think that one is not a good change. Okay, you remember how they made the patch about it being tankier 10%? Reduction to elites, nerfed. Thorns, nerfed. I know it's small, but just so you guys understand the thorns nerf, this was a passive. Increase your thorns by 20, 40, and 60%. That's what it was before. And not only that, some stats, like on amulets, can increase specific skills. We've seen that on beta. So you could maybe get this to 80 or 100. They changed it to 3, 6, 9. Yeah, and Thorns wasn't even that good. Thorns was just like pretty good to level up with. This is a deletion of the build. I want to be clear, because there's so much to go over. I needed to keep it fairly concise, but some of these changes are crazy. Yes, 3, 6, and 9 instead of 20, 40, and 60. But again, you can probably get like 2 skills to it. So we're talking about 15% increased thorns instead of double. Booming voice, the duration of war cries, because it's a double nerf. Take just so you can see the duration from 30 to 24, but that kills the scaling. Less damage during the shout skills. Super nerf. Look, 24 at level 3. Damage taken during shout skills. 24% reduced. It was before. Now it's 12. Okay. I am not like trying to crap on Barb. I actually think Barb is one of the better choices. After all the changes they did, they nerfed all the classes. This looks really rough, but they nerfed all the classes. And Barb, I think, got off pretty easy compared to some of the others. So this looks like I'm shitting on Barb. I'm illustrating the point of how misleading their post was. Super nerfed. Like this thing. Like, your shouts is called enemies to deal. It used to be 24 at level 3, now 12. This change alone completely reverses a flat 10% passive damage. Okay. I gotta rewind that. So the post that they made, a flat 10%. God, I should bring it up. Fine, let me. Someone gave me shit for this, unlike YouTube. This is why I'm bringing it up. A flat 10% passive damage reduction has been added for the Barbarian class. Some skill tree passives had their damage reduction effects reduced to compensate. Let me see if I can find it on my video, just because I want to illustrate a different point. I want to show you guys the absurdity of YouTube. The complete absurdity of YouTube. Let me see. It's kind of a lot of comments now. I don't know if I'll be able to find it. is one of the early comments. Oh, maybe I can do by oldest. Oh, you can't do by oldest. Okay, fine. I don't care. I don't care enough to find it. But basically, one of the comments is like, they copied this, and they're like, Kripp, they told you that they were going to reduce some of it. Bro, get the fuck out of here. Like, the Barb's got 10% flat damage reduction, and between the changes on the passive tree, the enormous nerfs on gems, the fortified gems, are 80% nerfed. They were 5% on beta, now they were 1%. Like, bro. Yeah, they told you. I don't know just how much tankiness the Barb's lost, but I think an endgame Barb post these changes is taking at least double, if not quadruple damage if you're speccing into all the defensive options compared to 2 weeks ago. Double to quadruple, I would say. I know it's a big range, but that's because there's a lot of damage reduction options, and they nerfed nearly all of them. Okay, so I do feel, and I have to insist, I did read the whole sentence, okay? I read the whole thing, but I have to insist that this is, if you're trying to be transparent about what you did to change a class, this is not it. This is just not it, okay? A flat 10% passive damage reduction has been added to Barbarian class. Some skill tree passives had their damage reductions affects they reduce the compensate. So apparently they nerfed some passives that would be roughly 10%. Right. That's cool, I guess. You get the idea. All right, that's just Barb. And
No way, dude.
Real, Barb had it easy. Every single class has been nerfed. Every single class. No one escaped the nerfs, and especially Sorcerer. You know, I also want to mention another thing. I think they made some things easier. The Butcher was pretty easy. I killed the Butcher on like Sorc with just rares on off stream this morning. And I killed it, I think, on that same character. It wasn't easy, but I killed it. I think the Butcher was actually harder in the beta a couple weeks ago. Possibly they have also changed some of the calculations on the mobs. If we go down here, Hydra. Lucky hit chance was nerfed. Lucky hit was horrible. If you're not familiar with lucky hit on Hydra, the lucky hit on Hydra is every single hit for the entire duration landing has now 53 instead of 7. But this is completely unrealistic. One of the worst lucky hits in the game. And the damage went from 30 at level 1 to 12. They even
you press the button and it does it.
30 to 12. 12 damage. Quin is like, but you press the button and it does it. What's the problem? All right, Quin. You know what? If you press the button and it does it, that just applies to like every skill. Okay, just it's just for your information on that one. This is like a druid skill now. What am I supposed to do with that, right? Well, the answer is he feels personally attacked. It wasn't personal. It's just the class. Based on rough estimates, admittedly, rough estimates, I feel that Rogue is the highest DPS class. Not the tankiest, but maybe tanky enough. Then I feel that Barb, Sorc, and Necro are kind of in that middle section. I cannot decisively say that one will be tankier or do more damage than the other two. I can't say that. I have a feeling that Barb is on the high end between those three on the damage and the tankiness. I feel that Sork is on the high end of the tankiness, and I feel that Necro is on the high end of the DPS. That's my feeling. However, I feel that Druid damage is decisively lower than the other 4 classes. But I feel like the Druid tankiness is pretty competitive. Druids also have this thing to fuse different archetypes in the same build, which it might not show in the raw character power, but it might mean that Druid is more adept dealing with all the affixes that show up in higher difficulties, for example. So Druid is not necessarily bad, but the numbers seem to indicate that the damage is not good. Not use it. Hydra builds
What, mate?
I'm sorry to say it, completely dead.
No.
Yeah,
no,
I think Hydra is completely dead. It is just barely an okay skill, but with the fairly powerful cooldown abilities that... Okay, we're going to go on a tangent here. I'm sorry to do this. Try to find it here. We're going to go on a tangent. This is also a comment, and I went to check it out. You know, I'm fair. I'm ready to be proven wrong. So Wajito is a pretty good content creator for Diablo 4, and he made like a video about Hydra. Okay, actually, we don't need to watch the video. This is basically it. Basically, he argues that based on the mana cost, Hydra is still a really powerful skill. That's what he argues. Okay. So if you max out your Hydra and you get the burn passive, cost 20 mana and you get 457% damage. And if we look at the other ones, you know, no burn, some burn, only burn. And in terms of raw numbers, okay. But there's something else here. Okay, on the plus side, let's go over the pluses. Hydra does its shit automatically. You can put the Hydra and then run around. So sometimes it will do more damage than some of your other abilities. If there are like boss encounters where you're literally having to run the entire time, I can see Hydra being viable. The thing is that Sorks have like many invulnerability cooldowns and many defensive cooldowns that are not invulnerability cooldowns. So I think you just make a build to focus on those. Okay, on the other side, when you cast the Hydra, it actually doesn't attack right away. It lasts 10 seconds. I would argue that its DPS uptime is like 9.5 seconds. It does not last the full duration. Hydra, the missiles are purely single target. It is not possible for one missile to hit more than one monster. Also, the missiles are very slow. If it's a single monster and the target is moving, it'll miss most of them. Okay, most of them will miss. So, yeah, how fair is that? And if you look at the other fire skills, Firebolt pierces things that are burning. So Firebolt usually hits more targets than one. If you're playing Firewall, you can make Firebolt hit all the targets. It's AoE. It's like a laser beam, basically. Fireball is big AoE. Meteor is just a bad skill. And Firewall is very AoE-like. This is also with the head, so you have to cast it when you're healthy. Okay. So basically, I think in real-world examples, with the misses, with the duration overkill, with the pure single target, Hydra, realistically, even in like single target fights, you're getting like 200% damage. Something around there. And you might think that, hey, that's pretty good, right? That's still going to make you use it. No, this is a single cast. Hydra, you can only cast one of. You put the Hydra and then you're done. You can't cast another one. With Firewall, you can cast 9 of them. Right? So it's not 160. So the other part that challenges Hydra, and I would say significantly, is the fact that it takes up a spot on your skill bar. Now, the legendary is bad now. I wouldn't use the legendary at all. Yeah. So, like, You can't make a build solely around Hydra anymore. I think the damage is too low. You can if you're like farming really low stuff. But the damage of using Hydra and no other skill is super low. It was just about good enough before, now it's not. So Hydra, if you have it, and I've seen some of his builds, he actually has Hydra along with another fire skill. Like he uses Hydra and Firewall, right? So Hydra is not the damage that it does. Hydra is the damage that it does more than your other main skill with the opportunity cost of another defensive cooldown. And I've also seen some of the Sork builds that use Hydra, and they, for example, they don't use Frost Nova. So if you take away Hydra, maybe your DPS is like slightly lower, but then you have Frost Nova. And Frost Nova is a powerful defensive cooldown. It has vulnerability to keep them in place for your firewall. It has the vulnerability effect for you to actually have burst damage. Right? If this was like World of Warcraft where you have like 20 buttons on your skill bar, and the build you are like, not all builds have that much pressure on the skill tree, but some of them do. And you don't have too much pressure on your skill tree. And again, you had like 20 keybinds on your bar. Hydra's good. It's still good. It's still good even if you nerf it further. But at the current value that it is, with Sorks having very powerful defensive options, I think it's useless. I think Hydra's completely dead. Again, with one exception of maybe a boss that you literally have to always run around. Just that. Sork has... I don't see it. Speaking of which, we had enormous nerfs. 15 per second to 3 from that elite thing that you had to keep shields up. 5-second barriers to 2-second barriers.
Good shit.
Absolutely brutal
Good changes.
nerfs.
Good changes. Good changes.
He's not a Sork enjoyer, obviously. But yeah, the barriers were absurd for Sork. They were absurd. The cooldown reduction barrier build, like, again, we're doing rough estimates, but like if you scale that to endgame, you would have barriers of like 200% of your HP pool every few seconds, which is like regenerating all of your health bar every second. It was broken. Sork, before these changes, was the most defensive class, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't close. Okay? Even with these unbelievably big nerfs, Sork might be the tankiest class in Diablo 4, but it's within a range where I can't say that with certainty. The Sork build that I featured a few weeks ago is basically no more. That build is completely gone, and I actually spent most of my weekend kind of figuring out what I want to do. And I'll give you guys another, little review here. Eventually, I wanted to go to the challenge of beating a
abilities
Shava, and I did so. I farmed some pretty powerful gear, and I ended up making a firewall sorcerer. And before I get too many of the details of the build, nearly every... He saw the numbers on my character, and he's like, what the hell is that? Yeah, I only farmed that zone for items for like a couple hours. Single part of the build was nerfed, but nearly every single part of every build was nerfed. And this is something that
look at this character coming to mind. Holy
requires talking about. The patch note, typical Druid enjoyer, roughly, that we got did not in any way correlate to the game version that we got. They left out like 90% of the changes, and conveniently...
They didn't want people to get mad about shit getting nerfed. Thing is, you can't get mad at shit getting nerfed. The game's not even out, Kripp.
I am not mad that the shit's getting nerfed. he confuses this at the start. I think it's a fair confusion because of how he titled the video. The video title's like, they nerfed everything. That's because on YouTube you have to clickbait like a little bit. You know, we try to clickbait within the realm of reality, so I feel fine about it. But yes, I am not personally mad that they nerfed stuff. It's, I take that back. In a few cases, I think they killed skills. I think killing skills is bad. And okay, let's not talk about Sork because you guys will think I'm biased. I think it was not good of them to kill Thorn's Barb. Changing the game and balancing and all that, totally cool. But if you're killing builds that people had already kind of attached themselves to 2 weeks ago in the free play session, and some people ended up purchasing the game as a result of that play session, like imagine some KFC enjoyer got access, checked out the open beta, was like, well, I wasn't sold on Diablo 4, but you know what? Playing Thorn's Barb is actually really cool. Well, he's going to have a really bad time when the game comes out. So, balance changes is one thing, but I do feel in a few cases it was overdone.
The game's not out. They can make everyone do 1/10 the damage. The game's not even out, Kripp. You like, dude, like that's like when when GGG makes a nerf before the season starts, and then people like get mad. Like, do you remember people getting mad? What was it? They got mad that they nerfed some shit before the league even started. Like, how dare you nerf the shit? That's not. It's like, bro, the game isn't even out.
Those changes were nerfs, serious nerfs. I gave you guys one example that alone reverses the survivability buffs of Barbarian. But here's another one. Gems were nerfed. Again,
Huge.
I'm not saying that these changes
Quin,
are bad.
stop gargling
I
Blizzard's
just,
balls. You used to be respected among the game review community. Get back to it. Stop being a loser.
Yo, Blizzard, give it to me straight next time. It's a typical Quin viewer, guys. It's fine. Okay, Path of Exile's pretty good with this, but even when they slip up, people complain. Those patch notes were a little misleading. Remember these gems? Yeah, these gems gave like 5% life. So they got nerfed to like 2.5%. That kind of sucks, right? Well,
I didn't even
there
notice
is
that, I'll be honest.
one it's like mind-blowing that Quin didn't notice that. Did he not use the fortified gems? Did he not see that they went from 5% to 1%? That is something that is very noticeable. How do you not notice that? Do you not socket gear? Gem that got nerfed harder than any other. Do you know what that is? Damage reduction while fortified. That was, I don't remember exactly, but it was also about 5% for the lower quality of the gem, which is, what we have in the beta. And it's now barely over 1%. It's almost an 80% nerf. That was a colossal part of the survivability for fortified characters. I don't even think fortified characters are going to use fortified damage reduction gems. They're so bad. I just want to be clear on my understanding of Fortify and the fortified gems. So the fortified gems give you damage reduction while fortified. If you're not fortified, they don't do anything. If you are fortified, they give you a damage reduction. I believe it's the amethyst. It's maybe another. I think it's amethyst though. Anyway, so they were like 5%, and now they're like 1%. They're like below the percent HP ones. If you have a character that has like flat life regen, I can see the fortify ones still being used, but I just want to be clear. This is not like Path of Exile Fortify. Okay? Fortify in Diablo 4, it's like gaining fortify values, and it can go to your top life, and it can go over max of your life. And let's say you have 1,000 health, and you have like 1,200 fortification. Okay? So if you get slapped for 400 damage, your health goes to 600, your fortification goes to 800. And then you use a health potion. When you use a health potion and you have 100 health and 80% of that health is fortified, you are no longer fortified. Just to be clear. Fortify must feel horrible. Okay? And the gems that they massively nerfed only work when you are fortified. Fortify, yeah. Fortify is a mechanic that you have to massively overkill or not really get hit very often. I have a feeling that one of the best fortifies is Necromancer, because Necromancer has it on a lot of skills, and I think especially if you play with minions, you can actually just not get hit that often. So I think in Necromancer it's actually okay. And with the Druid minions being more playable, especially in hybrid builds, maybe it's okay in Druid as well. But I think Barb's not going to have a great time when things actually start doing meaningful damage. Use life gems, right? Most of the healing in the game is not flat. It's based from skills and a percentage-based form. So, like, wow. Huge nerfs. And there was a pretty interesting one. I didn't actually bring it up, but it was on Reddit. A lot of in any game where you can avoid damage, that's 100% the better option. Well, if the damage reduction from fortified is half the value of percent more health, I would disagree. Percent more health would make you less susceptible to one-shots. Some healing is flat, but a lot of healing is percent-based. Like rogues get 1% health when they crit, right? So if you have more health, your recovery is the same. Your health potion is percent of health. So your percent is the same. Right? Like, damage reduction is better if it's like the same value, but it's not anymore.
Yeah, he's like, it reminds me of like a soy jack. He reminds me of like he's like a Redditor dude.
Complaining about minions. And, man, I really should bring it up because...
Wait, chat, what's your opinion on all the nerfs? Like, I just accepted it as reality and just immediately was like, okay, this is what we're working with now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't care at all, even for a second.
That's the right attitude.
I was like, okay, this is a change. I remember thinking, oh, my Druid thing technically gets nerfed here with Pulverize. To be fair, I suppose as a Druid, it probably got affected far less.
So, generally he's right, but once you go into the actual changes, you see that some builds are actually dead. Like the Sork cooldown build. Where is it here? So Ice Blades, cooldown 16. The cooldown was 12. The enchantment effect. For every 40 seconds in cooldowns you spend, you spawn an Ice Blades on a random enemy. That was 20. So those changes combined are brutal. It gets worse. Ice Blade's cooldown is reduced by 0.5 seconds each time it hits a vulnerable enemy. This was 1 second. 20% of enchanted Ice Blade's cooldown reductions applied to your other skills. This was 50%. Every one of these changes is massive. This is less than half. This is half. The uptime is a lot worse, and the enchantment effect is half. So we're dealing with like 1/10 of the cooldown reduction power. 1/10. And I should also mention that this mechanic kind of perpetuates on its own, because more Ice Blades further reduce the cooldowns, which further allow you to spam cooldowns, which spawns more Ice Blades. That math gets a little complicated. But like this is like a 95 to 98% nerf on cooldown reduction Ice Blades. This build is dead. This build is deader than dead. The only thing that you can maybe do with Ice Blades is if there is like some giga crazy boss at the end that's completely like untankable, you might have this thing where you only use Ice Blades and you use like Deep Freeze. With the when Deep Freeze ends, your non-ultimate cooldowns are reduced by 50%. So you like use all your immunity cooldowns, spawn a bunch of Ice Blades, and then run in a corner for like 20 seconds. If they make a boss fight like that, yeah, okay. Maybe the cooldown thing specifically for that one boss. Maybe. I guess. But like otherwise the build's dead. So they killed this build. They killed this build. They killed the Hydra build. They killed the Thorns Barb. So yeah, I think that's when it does. It's perhaps more than just whatever.
As a druid, I probably got affected far less. The thing is, the game's not even out, so it's like I would care more if the game was out and then I got nerfed. Because the game's not out, I don't see any of these changes. It's like, oh yeah, you played a PTR build, and then that's the way it goes. You play a PTR build, there's some broken shit on the PTR, and they nerf it. It's like, you can't get mad that they nerf some shit on a PTR. Don't care, game is ass anyway. Oh, my instability, dude. I'll be honest, I'm gonna need you to be more positive, okay? You've been farming too much negativity recently, unironically, and you need to step it up, all right? You need to be better. You need to do better.
It's right,
It has been quite
Quinn,
a ride
stop
as
gargling
well.
Blizzard's balls.
God,
You used to be respected among the game review community. Get back to it. Stop being a loser.
Now we have, all these necro hot fixes. They got hot fixed. Basically, the necro minions went down like crazy. And you know what? You know what happened with the necro minions? I will tell you what happened with the necro minions, and I think it is a story worth telling because you know what? A few months from now, a lot of people will kind of forget about it. Did I miss Necromancer?
They didn't
I
have
don't
an
know where
alphabetical for
Necromancer
some
is
reason.
on this list. Necromancer. Okay. Well, they admitted that they reduced the survivability of skeletons with the idea that you have a more engaging play style. You will be using the corpse mechanics more often. Well, hey, what the hell is that? Increase the damage and life of skeleton mages is buffed. Wait a second. Did they actually buff a build in this beta? Not just a build, one of the strongest builds from the previous beta.
Oh shit, I'll go down. Oh shit, I'll go down.
They actually did. What they did is they reduced the skeleton's survivability. I don't know if it's life. I don't know if it's damage reduction. I don't know if it's the amount of stats that you got from a gear. There's basically no transparency on what actually makes the minion what it is in the game. So let's not pretend like we know. Nobody knows. But their survivability went from pretty good to real bad. But their damage actually went up. And this is in an environment where every other form of damage on every other character went down. So I played a Necromancer, and I ended up making a Necromancer where all I did was trying to keep my minions alive. I went with the dual curse, which I thought was pretty cool. Actually, it worked out really well.
I actually saw Asmongold's stream when he watched someone else talk about the Necromancer, and the dude, his advice was to use a shield and play on a lower difficulty level. And Azagold is like, what? Eventually we're going to go to higher difficulty levels. But the guy's minion build had, like, nothing that really helped keep the minions alive, honestly. However, the most important thing with minion builds, okay, don't use corpse explosion. Stop. Don't use corpse explosion. You're going to need the corpses to respawn the minions that die, okay? If you play a necro, find another skill.
And I can tell you it was the highest DPS character I played in this beta, but I did not play Rogue. In terms of the class tier list and all that, yeah, I think Twisting Blades is a real outlier skill. I don't think anything is on the level of Twisting Blades Rogue. But below that, I don't know if it's going to be Sork. It might be Barb. It could very well be Necro. Okay, it's probably not Druid. But Druid is like...
He needs to shut the fuck up about talking shit about druids. All right, we ain't that bad. We're pretty good. We got the claw build. We got the slam build. We got the rock build. He needs to shut the fuck up about the druids, man.
Like, I watched him do the final boss in the quest thing as a druid. I'm sorry, you know, I hate to be that guy, but his druid did less damage than any character that I played this weekend, and he almost died. I mean, you know, these aren't baseless accusations. That's all I'm saying. Like, cool and stuff, I guess.
We're
if
fat.
You want.
Okay.
And it got nerfed too.
We got good energy storage, okay? So if we were starving on an island, the druids would be the last ones to die.
That's true.
But everyone. And Druid maybe got nerfed less than the average other class, Copium. Possibly. Anyway. So for Necromancer.
So just, I know there's not a lot of Druid players out there, but just so you guys know, the core problem with Druid is they have no resource regeneration. They have to use other skills, like the basic skills at the start, but then later on, there's legendaries, like legendary powers. There's higher level skills and procs that you can use to get spirit. So it makes it so you have to use your basic attacks much less later on. And that's why, like Riker and stuff like that, they said that Druid is actually one of their favorite to play at high levels. So I understand that. I understand that, you know, Druid will feel better at high levels. I think that is 100% correct. However, okay, let's pay attention here. Pay attention here. The actual skills, okay, Lightning Storm is like a channel. 15 spirit, 32% damage. Tornado, 40 spirit, 35% damage. Pulverize, 35 spirit, 50% damage. Shred is about 40-something% damage for 35 spirit. Landslide was like 120, and it got nerfed to 75. Now, you can hit a target multiple times with it, but that's like single target-ish. Okay. And yeah, some legendaries fix these skills a bit. So yeah, at high level, you can spam these a lot more than you can at low level. Let's just go to Sork for a second. You know what you're going to have at high level? Crit. %42% AoE around you. If it crits, it doubles the hit. There you go. This does more than every Druid skill. And I'm not joking. You can go check. This does more than every Druid skill if you crit. But again, this doesn't cost anything. This is a basic attack. So I think the Druid is going to have its strengths. I think it's tanky enough. I think it's comparably tanky to the other characters. I think it'll be smooth at high level. I think you just mostly do whatever skill you want. Like a lot of the clunkiness, I do agree, goes away. But like when I say that Druid is probably not very good damage, it's because their skills are not very good. Their skills are just not very good compared to the other classes. It's not baseless. They reverted the nerfs. They reverted the nerfs for survivability.
In my opinion, the minions are not as tanky as they were in previous patch. They're still like way less tankier, but it's a lot more playable. However, I have a sneaky suspicion that they actually reduced some of the damage. And it's kind of an interesting thing. I feel like they very deliberately nerfed the survivability in order to keep the damage because it's a high maintenance playstyle, but it's very rewarding. It could have been the highest DPS build in the game. But I didn't really want to bet on this build. I didn't really want to bet on the questionable survivability. That's still pretty questionable, by the way, when content gets harder in the higher difficulty levels. But it looks like it's fixed-ish, and it looks like they're somewhat on top of it, kind of. I really thought about playing a Necromancer, but yeah, I can't do it. I don't want to like deal with the mystery option of, you know, will minions work in higher difficulty levels? Because if they don't, then I'm effectively playing a Sorc that doesn't have movement skills or powerful defensive cooldowns. I want to point out that this is not just a mystery. People who have played the endgame beta or whatever have said that the minion-based Necro build does not work at higher difficulty levels. And I believe Riker also said that. So there is, again, some basis for this doubt. It's not that I'm airballing that assumption. They could all be wrong. Honestly, I think there's a decent chance they're all wrong, because I have to imagine if you invest only in minions, they'll stay alive. Surely there's going to be some people that don't invest that much in minions, and their minions are going to suck. Surely. And they're going to complain. We call those Redditors, okay? But there's a lot of indications that it will be a struggle. And that's just
Do they have
not
a straight
gonna
up
happen.
vulnerability? Wait, what the fuck's happening with my microphone? What the fuck's happening with my microphone? Was my microphone break? What the fuck is happening, bro, with my shit? Yo, I don't know. I feel like the... Oh, no.
So there's a question, what about Necro builds without minions? Are they viable? Absolutely. I just don't want to play them. The mobility and defensive cooldowns on Sorc are just really good and satisfying. Like, if a Sorc does half the damage of a Necro, I'd still play Sorc.
Is it dying, bro? Am I having more audio issues today? Holy fuck. I feel like the Necromancer could be like the best just because of the fact that you have like abusive minions and like AI, bro, of minions. You can like distract bosses and trivialize and cheese entire mechanics a lot of the time. You know, like shit that like one-shots you can just stand behind your minions or have it F. What are you saying F? What are you saying F?
How do you feel about Sorc having the only death defy? Well, that's what happened in Diablo 3. One of the classes had a cheat death, and then fast forward like 3 patches and every class had a cheat death. And after a few years, everybody hated the fact that everyone had to get their cheat death passive. You know how they say history repeats itself? Yeah.
Why is everyone saying F?
So, what have I learned about Sorc? Sorc is massively nerfed. Massively nerfed.
Cock.
The basic skills are largely untouched, and that actually makes Arclash one of the best AoE skills available, and Fireball one of the best single target skills available. The Fireball on Explode is still the same, which is really nice. You can have, you know, okay, so only Druids have cheat death? Whatever. In Diablo 4, when you leave game, it's instant. So
I think there is a very real argument that the game should not have a cheat death. Here's how I'd play hardcore. I'd play Sork, and then in the, I think, 3 seconds of invulnerability when my cheat death is procced, yeah, I'm just going to log out. I'm pretty sure someone's going to make an auto hotkey script when your cheat death procs to close your game. That's just stupid. Effective and powerful clear speed builds with Sork. I think even if Sork doesn't top the damage charts, and it might not, it very well might not. We don't really know where it's at. I think you will have a fast farming experience. So I think Sork will have a place somewhere. The Flame Shield, I think they up the damage and they lower the duration from scaling with levels. That's fine. I don't really use it for high duration. Teleport is basically unchanged. Even on a Shava, when you have like the 1.5 screen, it still goes the full screen. Teleport, I think, got very slightly nerfed for like the true triple screen teleport across, yeah, so that's fine.
Yo, I just realized, wait, if you play hardcore Wizards and you can instantly exit the game during your cheat death.
There it is.
Are you just invulnerable to death? Wait, what the fuck? Are you just invulnerable to death?
This is the moment where Quin realizes he should have played a Sork.
That's fucking stupid. Did they nerf it? That's fucking stupid. Wait, what? No, you can instantly log out. Oh man, it's pissing down with rain, chat. Oh, it's going crazy, dude. It's going crazy.
Someone say it'll probably get nerfed. How will it get nerfed, though? No, seriously. Is the nerf going to be that you can't instant logout anymore? I don't know, bro.
Dude, look how crazy it's going right now. Holy fuck. Damn.
We're supposed to be impressed that it's raining.
What the fuck? I can't zoom out, though. Ability
I don't get this.
Yeah. Wait, what the fuck? That's a massive problem. If they've kept the... Damn, it's gone crazy out there, bro.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Wait, is that what rain sounds like? Holy shit.
Yeah. Rain ASMR, dude. Relax. The sparkle tip voice is fuck right now. Is the cat out there, bro? I don't think the cat's gonna be out there.
It's not even a good mic.
There's a window wiper on the camera as well.
This is like white noise on a TV. Any boomers remember?
So, pretty legit.
Change the channel, dude.
Okay, anyway, let's continue.
Move the antenna.
Totally fair. Ice armor, I think, was nerfed, but it's still super strong. I think they nerfed the damage building up the barrier. Frost Nova was nerfed. It's longer cooldown. The cooldown reduction from killing frozen things is worse, but I think the freeze is for 3 seconds instead of 2, so it's like a little bit better for that regard.
3 seconds instead of 2 is quite a bit better. It's just you have to use it differently. Before you could like Frost Nova every pack. Now you Frost Nova like every other pack. But it's still good. What's this, Emmy? Change the cheat death to put you at 0 HP, and after 3 seconds it heals you, but you can't regain HP before the buff expires. So if you log out during cheat death, your character always dies. But that means that if you disconnect and have that passive, you always die. Yeah, you have to go back to the drawing board on that one.
Hydra is dead. The cooldown build is beyond dead. Don't even think about trying to attempt the cooldown build with Ice Blades, forget about it. Ice Spear is about Lightning Spear is about the same, which is pretty nice. Align the elements, protection. I would say that Sork got their survivability nerfed by like. I just want to mention it here because I think I actually don't mention it in the video. I think I tested this off stream today. So align the elements. The barriers don't protect you from it. 2 weeks ago, if mobs didn't actually damage your health, the damage reduction would stay up. It still works with immunity. So if you have immunity and they're hitting you, it will keep the buff. But if you have a shield and they're hitting you, align the elements will go down. So that's kind of a big deal. That means that builds with built-in crowd control are stronger. Remember how I said there's like 3 builds, one of each element that I was considering? With cold builds, you have chill and freeze, and then against bosses, you just try not to get hit, so it's fine. With lightning, it's a bit of a mix, because you stun stuff all the time, so you're just not getting hit very often. But you're also kind of melee. So that's one that it could be fine, it could be not fine. I don't know where that's going to land. But the fire build, which doesn't have a lot of crowd control, that buff is not staying up, okay? So just be aware. When I made this video, I don't think I talked about this because I hadn't tested it yet. I didn't test it because I assumed it worked the same, but I woke up this morning and I'm like, I wonder if they nerfed that too. And they did. They did nerf that. Like 95%. Okay? It is so much worse than the previous time we played it. And yeah, they effectively nerfed every single skill on the build I was planning on playing. Every single skill. But to be fair, they did that with Barb as well. They did that with Druid as well. I played Landslide Druid. I played a Thorns Barb with War Cries. So, I don't know. Possibly someone at Blizzard is a real dedicated Kripp viewer. Okay. This is where his chat loses it and thinks I'm like an egotistical maniac. I literally have Diablo devs that are in my sub chat occasionally. Okay. Like I even know what the job of one of them is. Okay, he designs side quests. Okay, like come on. Okay, I'm not living in my own fantasy, guys. Right?
Okay.
So I guess all right. The rest of the video will cover the future nerfs
Holy,
of
this
the
ego with this guy.
Maybe not. I do feel
Fucking
that
ego
outside of like twisting blades,
yeah, bro. Oh shit.
there really
These
are
streamers,
very
their main
few
character syndrome, bro.
outliers.
Straight up.
I spent an exhaustive amount
Holy
of time
shit.
trying to figure out what I want to play 2-3 weeks.
Also, they nerfed all my characters.
Okay, what did I play? Okay, so the Sork build that I thought was the best Sork build, here were the skills. Ice Blades, gutted. Hydra, gutted. Frost Nova, big nerf. Ice Armor, big nerf, but still very usable. And the Fire Immunity Armor, also nerfed. Okay? And it was based around the barrier strategy. Every part of that was nerfed. When I say that they nerfed every skill that I used, they literally did. They literally nerfed every single skill I used. But again, not just Sork. They nerfed every single skill I used on my Barb. Like, the second character I made was a Barb, and it was a Warcry stacking Thorns build. They nerfed every skill I used on my Barb, man. Like, maybe I'm a little paranoid, but like, I ain't crazy, right?
Stop making vids.
weeks from now, and the decisions are tough. I went through all the data mine information I could find, all the experiences, as much info as I could possibly, process. And I think there are 3 builds that I'm considering. There is a firewall build, because firewall is a high damage skill. You just have to, as I mentioned in the previous video, when you're running
Quin
through,
doesn't like this.
you need to kind of
It's not for everyone.
sidestep, do a firewall perpendicular to your character, and it's pretty hard to do because you can't click out here. You have to click next to your character. So, and then you want to walk along the
That looks
path.
awful.
So the playstyle's not for everybody.
Quin's like, this skill sucks. Okay, so it is a little bit like something you have to get used to. But this skill, as a baseline, okay, baseline. Okay, level 1, 160. Standing and burning damage, 25% more. This skill does 200% weapon damage for 30 mana. Let's just go check out Druid real quick. How much did those skills do? Let's see here. He had Pulverize, right? So for 35 of a resource that doesn't regenerate, you get 50? Oh, what about this one? Oh, 35. Oh, I see. What about 35 again? Oh. Over 8 seconds. So it's not as bad as you think. Because enemies continue burning for 3 seconds after leaving firewall. So if they get even touched by the firewall, they take a second and then 3 more seconds. So that's half the damage. So any mob that gets touched by the firewall, 100% weapon damage. And the firewall build uses the effective corpse explosion with the fireball enchantment. Yes, you're right. It usually doesn't hit for all of its damage unless you're sitting in the same spot chaining defensive cooldowns. The thing about that is that's exactly how I made my firewall build, so we'll see.
That was awful.
But you know what? For mana efficiency per total damage, firewall with a now 5% chance for 2 firewalls, it's pretty good. You know what? Firewall is a very high damage skill. And
I want to see the gameplay. Zone in,
there
Kripp.
is another.
Zone
That's
in.
what Twitch VODs are for.
There were some data mine stuff for like the Paragon passives, and I feel like Fire does really well in the Paragon system.
I didn't want to show it on YouTube because it's like evergreen content and yeah, whatever. So the thing I'm talking about is this. Your burning damage is increased by your critical strike damage, further increased by 5% for every 20 intelligence that you have. Based on the requirements on the passive tree, we believe that 700 or 800 int is reasonable. So if you have 800 int, you'd get 240% of your crit multi as burning. So if you have 200 crit multi, you start off with 50 base. Your firewall, your burning damage would be multiplied by like 6 or 7. Also, I looked at these Paragon boards, and this one is just really good. This is the best Paragon board, but it's for fire damage. For burning damage, sorry. Damage reduction from elites with flat armor with another damage reduction from elites. Reduction from elites, armor, reduction from elites, armor, reduction from elites. Just like crazy. And then the 2 by the glyph, damage to burning. So this is everything. Your damage is burning, right? So it's not like cold damage, where damage to chilled, because you can't chill the boss. Bosses are not chillable. This is always on. So this is very, very good. And then damage reduction from enemies that are burning. Again, you can't chill the boss, so the boss does full damage to the cold build. So I go over this in the video, but I don't give these examples because I want to show these like third-party sites. But yes, there is strong basis for my statements that the Paragon system favors fire. Cold is okay, lightning is okay, but fire in the Paragon is very good. And we're talking about mechanical differences. Like damage reduction from enemies that are burning. Cold has this. It's just you can't chill the boss. They can't nerf that. Right? Elites are bosses, champions, rares, and players. It's a tooltip on one of the screens. I screenshotted it last beta. All the different elements, they kind of have their categories, their passives. The burning ones work the best. The burning one has one where you can scale your burning off of your int and crit damage, which is fantastic to be able to use crit as a damage over time build. And the burning passives are like increased damage.
Wait, what? He does 1900 damage. Wait, that's actually really high. Right? But wait, does it stack? Does it stack or what's the deal? Wait, does it stack?
Wait, does it stack? Does the firewall stack? It's like the enchantment effect. Drops 2 of them under your other firewall. But does it stack?
Over 8 seconds. Can you have 2 of them down, though? How many can you stack?
How many
can you stack?
2, 3?
Well, no, think about it. If he's like doing... pulverize sets for like 2k, right? But you can do it once every 12 seconds. If he can just spam something to...
Druids do 2k every 12 seconds.
Does 2k damage, right? Then it's way more damage. There's way more damage. But if it doesn't stack, then it's not that good at all.
This is where he realized that he fucked up.
You can say
burning enemies and take reduced damage from burning enemies. It's just stuff that works. It works on the trash mobs. It works on the bosses. It just works on everything because you can burn everything. So they're just very effective. And I would say that in general, their passives are quite good. So a build focused around lots of defensive cooldowns and lots of firewall and stacking it, I think, is going to be very legit.
Shit,
the other build that really caught my eye originally was a cold build, where you use Frostbolt to gain maybe a little bit of mana if you need it. You use the Ice Shards enchantment. Ice Shards automatically conjure and fly towards frozen enemies. Ice Shards is a really, really good skill. Some people are thinking of doing the cold build only with Ice Shards. I don't know if I would do that, but I don't denounce the idea. I think that could work. And it's pretty easy to freeze if you do a lot of cold damage. And Frozen Orb, whenever you cast a non-basic skill, 20% chance to launch a Frozen Orb to nearby enemy. Pretty good. And the bulk of your casts would be Blizzard, and it would trigger the other 2 casts. But the idea is that we get Avalanche. Your Frost skills have up to 10% chance to make your next cast of Ice Shards, Frozen Orb, or Blizzard consume no mana and deal 40%
Kripp is on the build.
Doubled against vulnerable. So basically, you get some lucky hits.
It's great. It's great because you're just gonna log in, bro, and then what's gonna happen is you're just gonna play the game, and then
This is the opinion of someone who hasn't quite processed that there's an extremely complicated Paragon board system that requires 220 passives, which you will not be able to reset if you find that one legendary very easily.
legendary is going to drop, and it's going to make you do like 3 times as much damage with an ability, and then you're just going to equip that ability, and then you're going to play with that ability, and then don't get me wrong, what'd you get?
He's right for like level 30. Like if you're level 30 and you find that one legendary, totally go for it. But you're gonna be level 30 after like 2 hours, and then you're never gonna be level 30 again.
Couple more legendary. Like, that's what you're gonna do. You're just gonna you're just gonna play. You get a legendary that buffs an ability. You just use that ability, and now eventually, further on in the track, you'll have many legendaries and access to many legendaries, and then you'll equip those and you actually play a build. But that's like later on down the track, and it's like I'm not even planning. I'm just like, okay, I kind of have a general idea what I want to do. I'm not gonna sit there like min-maxing exactly what I'm doing, like, because I'm gonna dynamic.
Remember what I said about the Paragon boards? I said it like at the start of the stream. So, like this thing here. So Cinders, damage to burning enemies, and it has another bonus, another 10 damage to burning enemies if requirements are met. It has a willpower that goes up with the equip index. Equip index is how many Paragon boards are chaining to this one, which means that if this is one of the first Paragon boards that you attach, it'll have like 180, maybe 270 willpower. But if you attach this board last, it'll be like 700 willpower. And you will not want to have 700 willpower on your Sork. Well, maybe you will, but I wouldn't. Anyway. And it's got some of these require strength, some require dexterity, some require int. But you are going to want to have one stat, like a lot of. So you actually really need to plan this out. Because if this was like int, for example, and you're like, bam, that sounds awesome. I'm going to put this one first, Cinders. But then your last one in the chain is not going to be int. So you're just not going to have those bonuses active because you're not going to have like 700 dexterity on your Sork. So the way that the Paragon board order is optimized is that you usually want the stat that you want to stack most of at the end of the chains, even if you would rather have those bonuses earlier for like early on character power. Yeah. Okay, it doesn't matter that much, the specifics. I don't know exactly what I'm doing with this. I just want to say that this whole thing where I'm going to play it and figure it out, that's probably not going to work super well.
Dynamically shift. Basically, if I will literally go fucking some earth cuck, pussy earth little cuck boy who summons like rocks out of the ground if I get a fucking landslide legendary. Like, let's be real.
Proxy skip.
It doesn't matter how much I've tested Wilf. It doesn't matter how much I tested Werebear. I will be a spellcasting little bitch the second I get one that makes like, oh, your fucking Earth ability does 500% more damage. Okay, log in.
Your lucky hit, and you get
log
constant
in, bro.
blizzards that cost no mana, and you can always respec. I hope that Blizzard has changed their mind on this, but Blizzard has said on several dev live streams that the respec costs go up as you level, and they want you to make a new character in order to try a different build once you've leveled up to high level. So, again, I hope they change their minds, but Blizzard has stated definitively that respecing at high level is going to be really hard. So the whole Paragon ordering thing, that's hundreds of respec points. I hope they change their mind. They really should change their mind on that. But I don't know. If they stated otherwise, I haven't seen it. And deal additional damage, and if it doesn't have too much of a pressure on your mana, which it shouldn't, when cast above 50 mana, Blizzard durations increase by 4 seconds, which essentially is 50% more damage. And Blizzard, as a baseline skill, 120
with 25 extra to Frozen,
To
well,
1,000.
that's pretty good.
What's up with these wizard abilities? He must have been
Again, Druid Enjoyer.
saying gear, right? Why do all his abilities read so much damage, bro? It's some bullshit. All his abilities read too much damage. He must have some fucking dirty gear. He went to that, how long did he do the exploit for?
2 hours.
Was he just
Not
was
even
he sitting there farming the entire time? What the fuck?
Not very long.
Here are the problems.
The fuck's
I
the
have
bullshit?
tested it, and Blizzard has no scaling from crit. It is a pure damage over time skill. However, there's nothing that increases a damage over time from a cold source because
Cringe.
it's not like
That's
burning.
cringe. That's cringe.
It's just damage over time cold. So there are very few scaling mechanisms. While the
I was actually thinking that the cold build would be my front runner going into this beta. But yeah, I tested Blizzard. It is 100% a pure damage over time skill, which means it cannot crit. Some damage over time skills can crit because, I don't know, ask someone at Blizzard. But this is not one of them. For example, the Hurricane skill for Druid, where a damage over time hurricane goes around you, that one can crit. Blizzard cannot crit.
base skill is extremely strong, I have to think to myself, if I'm scaling this character with significantly more gear, with Paragon passives, how will it work? Initially, I was a bit, gung-ho about doing the cold thing. I looked at the Paragon stuff. The cold-related passives, they're not quite as striking. There's no notables that really struck out as being particularly powerful to me. And a lot of the
Is he talking
damage...
about the fucking unethical Paragon leaks?
Unethical.
Is he talking about the unethical? Are we looking at that? Am I logging into that?
They're not exactly leaks so like this crap. This is because you're playing the whole game. Like when we got our battle nets, like the last beta was 70 gigs. Level 1 to 20 wasn't 70 gigs. We just got the whole game with a single line of code capping your level and zone, right? It's probably something like that. So the information that we have here is data mined. And it was data mined every single time. The original info on websites was data mined from like the media playtest. And then it was data mined again in the first beta weekend, and then again in the second beta weekend, and now again in the server slam. So, I mean, if they didn't want them data mining it, then I don't know. But yeah, they data mined like every single unique in the game. They data mined all the Paragon boards, their values and positions. And I don't know how they do this, but I actually made mods for Diablo 2 for a few years. And Diablo 2, again, it might have nothing to do with Diablo 4, but the coding of it used MPQ files at the time. There was some like fairly complicated code that strung the files together. But if you broke down the MPQ files to the text files, they were literally like Excel spreadsheets. So it was super easy to understand like values of items and skills and stuff like that. In Diablo 2, again, it's like decades, right? But yeah, they got this data mine stuff instantly on each of the weekends. So maybe it is easy.
Fuck it. If Kripp's looking at it and talking about it, I'm gonna look at that shit. I need to go to that unethical Paragon leaks. I need to go into that. I'm gonna have to look at that. To be fair, what I'll do though is I do that closer to the time, so that it's all fresh as fuck, rather than doing it now. And there might be more leaks before then, right?
and damage.
It's not leaks, first of all. And bro, it's like this. How many days is it to June 1st? It's 16 days. 16 days, barely over 2 weeks, dude. How fresh do you need it?
Reduction is
Why just have an idea? Like, I mean, Kripp's looking at it, bro. Like, everyone's looking at it. Apparently, I've been abstaining from looking at the leaks. The only thing I looked at was the Druid passive things, because apparently everyone was looking at that, so I was like, fuck it. And they were kind of cringe. And I'm really hoping they're going to change.
Yeah, Diablo comes out on June 1st. It comes out officially on June 6th, and if you paid them lots of extra money, you get 4-day early access. And June 6th minus 4 days is June 1st. Yeah.
Yeah. I have not looked at the Paragon shit.
Conditional Perfect on timing. chilled and frozen. So my question is, do I really need to take less damage from targets that are chilled and frozen? No. They're going to be chilled and frozen. They're just not really going to hit me. Do I want to deal more damage to targets that are chilled and frozen? Sure, that's great. But here's the thing. Bosses in Diablo 4 are not affected by any form of crowd control. You can't slow them. You can't chill them. You can't freeze them. You can't stun them. You can't do anything to them. You just can't. That's how bosses work in Diablo 4.
Wait, how does that work, by the way? If you have something that's perma-slowing the boss, do they still get the slow tag, or do they not get the slow tag? Like,
I find it amazing that Quin hasn't figured out how CC on bosses works. I just, not to be rude, but like, what the hell? That's kind of mind-blowing. I thought that the movement speed slow effects worked after the first beta, and I was wrong about that. I don't remember how I thought so. I think maybe I just read it somewhere. But no, it is the case that none of it works.
I get you can't actually slow the boss, but do you get the slow multiplier? No, you do not. Interesting.
So when I have reduced damage taken from chilled enemies, well, there's just not going to do anything again.
I'm gonna be honest, that seems like bad game design. I'm gonna be honest, that sounds dog shit. Like, what? What the fuck is that?
Yeah, okay.
That's stupid. That's shit.
I wouldn't say that as harshly. But yes, it does make some builds real bad against bosses.
Like, what if your whole build's relying on like these conditional damage multipliers? Like every fucking character that plays this game, because apparently every apex in the game says like more damage to X enemies, more damage to Y enemies, more. And it's like, but then like, guess what? Fucking bosses are just immune to all that shit. But then again, I guess that just makes bosses tanky. Then it means builds that use those damage multipliers are bad. Which I'm thinking about doing a poison druid, which would be poison slow, and then I was thinking about damage versus crowd control enemies and damage versus slowed enemies, right? But if it doesn't work on bosses, then that's kind of cringe entirely.
Against bosses. So his druid has like things that you poison or chilled or something like that. I believe that won't work. But there are some exceptions. Something like, while you have a barrier, casts of ice shards treat enemies as if they were frozen. So if you have extra damage to frozen, which I think you do on the passive tree, 6% increased damage to frozen enemies. So that will actually work on bosses. They won't be like frozen, but there are a few instances where the skill treats it as if it is under a condition, even though it's not. I also want to point out that this passive is fucking terrible. You always use the vulnerable one. So it does not apply to Sork. It's a debate. But again, if we go back to the fire passives, you can burn bosses, so that less damage taken from burning targets will work on a boss fight. The way that crowd control is implemented in boss encounters in Diablo 4 is any crowd control effect builds up the stagger meter, and when the stagger meter is full on a boss, the boss kind of just sits there for a few seconds, and during that few second time interval, they are effectively under every crowd control. So they're slowed, they're frozen, they're stunned,
I wonder, does that mean the slow that you're applying to the boss with every hit is applying like a little CC?
That's exactly how it works. Glyphs, yeah, they have glyphs. I don't know if the values are correct. I've seen a couple of data mine sites, and the values were different. So On this one, this is just like one guy that data mined it. I'm using his site because he updated it like right away. So he has the glyphs. But I've seen different values on different sites for these. So we don't really know, I think 100% what to expect. But you can at least, like, these glyphs are probably going to be pretty good. Like this one here, for every 5 int within range, mastery skills gain 14% increased damage. So you literally go over every Paragon board and see where the most int you can have is in the firewall build. Literally. Right? And there's no way this glyph is bad if all of your damage comes from firewall, because in this build it will. Right? So you don't actually need to know the exact values to kind of figure it out. Yeah, 20 area, I imagine will work on firewalls, but you know, I don't know for sure.
Debuff? Do you think? Do you think that's working? So if you're heading for like a 30% slow, versus like an 8% slow, then each auto attack will do more stagger damage.
Right. Necrominions are amazing at stagger, by the way.
No.
There might be a build, probably Sork, if there is one, where you dump all your like cooldowns to like build up stagger meter, and then you teleport away and hide in a corner. And then you go back and do the same thing, and then teleport back in the corner. I have a good expectation that this is how some of the harder bosses might be killed. The stagger thing is actually decent. Like the stagger meter, it's not like it barely moves. The thing moves. Putting CC into a boss is not worthless. I do feel it's challenging, though, when the majority of your damage reduction abilities on a character are from chilled enemies. Because you're going to, like, clear the dungeon, this is so easy, and then you get to the boss, and the boss is going to, like, one-shot slap you. So that's why I'm like, yeah, I don't know about playing a cold build. And I'm still like that.
No, yes, because I don't get it. It says enemies that are poisoned this slow, though. So what, is it every poisoned application? Is it every second that the enemy's poisoned? I don't get it. Like, that doesn't make any sense, dude. I don't know, dude. That seems kind of shit. Seems kind of questionable.
That might build stagger a lot. It might be
Some,
decent.
legendaries give you bonuses to these things, and some give multiple bonuses. So it's not worthless to have chill and freeze when it comes to trying to hit bosses. But, when it comes to not getting one-shot by that boss, it makes a big difference. Because I don't really care if the staggered boss is doing less damage to me because it's chilled. Because when it's not chilled, it's going to do more damage to me than if I got the burn passives.
I feel like the ailment should still affect the boss. It should just be massively reduced versus the boss. So, like, your 30% slow still slows the boss, but instead of 30%, it slows it for 3%, right? And your chill still slows the boss. It just does it at, like, 10%. That way you get all the ailment effects and shit that you're building your character around. And, like, because otherwise, the entire builds are going to get to a boss, and then it's going to disable. And then that's just not going to feel good. That's just going to feel bad. That's just going to feel shit,
And was playing fire. So I feel like the cold skill
Diabetic Ginger with a 5 this episode, PogChamp.
setup.
So all burns stack. Okay, every burn stacks. Every burn adds on another burn. Something can have 50 different sources of burn. It's even cooked into one of the passives if you don't believe what I'm saying. Your burning effects deal increased damage per unique source of burning you have applied to the enemy. If the enemy is burning from 3 or more sources, this bonus is doubled. By the way, you get this if you're playing Firewall. So basically, if the dude is under 3 of your firewalls, then you get 4% increased damage for each one of them. The downside of burn-based builds is you can't scale crit or overpower, unless you have the Paragon thing, which is why burning is pretty good. But that's also why I think the Blizzard build, I don't want to say it's weak, but it loses out quite a lot of endgame scaling, because Blizzard doesn't have a crit converting mechanic, and it can't crit. So that's why Blizzard's a bit weak mechanically. Burns do not crit. Is much more tailored to clearing dungeons and much less tailored to actually killing the bosses. And that is pretty evident even when you're trying to play them. The other small setback with Cold is the lucky hit chance of Frozen Orb went from like 25 or something to 4. Yeah.
Get fucked.
Now, lucky hit is... I don't want to interrupt this too much, but people are asking about unique sources of burns. If I believe that each firewall is a unique source, yes. I believe it's a unique source. Because it says from 3 or more sources. Let's just quickly go over all the skills that can burn. So there's Firewall, Meteor, Hydra, Incinerate, and Fireball is 5. God, I sure hope so. I thought there was actually less. I thought there were only 3. But yeah, I sure hope so. I don't know that for a fact. How can I know that? Is a pretty deceptive stat. Sometimes lucky hit will give you the value of each hit of the skill. For example, I am pretty confident that Charge Bolt has a 20 lucky hit per bolt. So if you hit all 5, very good lucky hit chance. Very good, I think. And some skills are like the entire effect. If the target gets hit with every single ability from the lucky hit, it's like the Hydra effect, basically. Like Hydra is 53 lucky hit, so the full 10-second duration of Hydra, every single Hydra head hitting the same target total has a lucky hit chance of 53. Look at his face. Horrendous.
No shot. Wait, there's no way. There's no way. Wait, what?
So I understand his initial reaction, but in this case, I am 100% sure. I've seen some comments disagreeing with me. I'll tell you why. So first, for clarity, this is just the skill itself. It does not include, while healthy, your casts of Hydra gain 1 additional head. It does not include that. So effectively, it is 33% higher. But yes, lucky hit on Hydra is, for the 3-headed version, every single head for the entire duration, attacking and landing hits, the total hits of that. So if your attack speed is 1 and Hydra doesn't have a delay when you spawn it, but actually it kind of does, like a half-second delay. So I guess that's like 30 hits. So each hit has like a 1.5, 1.6 lucky hit. Yeah. And you're wondering, Kripp, how do you know that for sure? Well, we tested it exhaustively. In the past 2 weekends, I tried many proc-based builds based off of Hydra. And you're like, Kripp, how do you know 100%? Here's how you know 100%. When you equip you can use an extra Hydra, but it lowers the duration of Hydra. Do you know what happens when you equip that item? The lucky hit goes up. The reason the lucky hit goes up is because the lucky hit chance is fixed for the entire skill. So when you lower the duration, there's fewer hits, but it keeps the overall skill. Yeah. So 100%, that's how it works. Yeah, there's fewer hits, but the total sum of the hits is one number. Yeah. So 100% it works that way. Now, there are skills that you just, like I talk about Frozen Orb. I tested Frozen Orb. I don't know if Frozen Orb has a 4% lucky hit, or like, I don't know what is a reasonable amount of hits from Frozen Orb. 3 hits? Is the lucky hit 4 or 1.3? How the fuck do I know, right? So I'm pretty clear that I don't know. It's hard to tell, but it's low.
No, what the fuck? That doesn't make any sense. What is he on about? That doesn't make any sense. No shot Blizzard would do that. Wait, what? Why would they count? Why would they not use a consistent scheme of formatting for the tooltips so then that way you can understand what it means?
That's a pretty good question.
Doesn't even make sense. So why doesn't it read like 1% or some shit then? You know, like why would they combine it? That's so confusing. That's just because then how are you gonna like what the fuck? That's so.
The only argument that I have is that if you manipulate the duration, it might artificially buff the lucky hit to proportions that they wouldn't want. And that might seem a little bit obscure, but there's like some stupid stuff here. I don't know. Is it the glyph? There's something. Conjuration skills have 20% increased duration. I don't know if you can scale that. I don't know if this is like a crappy version of the glyph. I don't know if this goes to like 100 somehow. I don't know, right? So yeah, Blizzard kind of went through and made these like weird systems for you not to abuse the lucky hit mechanics too much. And there's some fairness there because that's potentially some game-breaking stuff.
So confusing. What? Shouldn't Frozen Orb read like a higher number then? I don't get like what the fuck?
Completely, unapplicable.
What?
Well, I don't know which one it is, but I'm inclined to believe that the lucky hit chance of 4 is a lot lower than 4. And no, you can't scale it additively with like lucky hit chance. Increasing your lucky hit chance multiplies the base value of the skill. If a skill has a poor lucky hit chance, it is very difficult to increase it. If I had 100% lucky hit chance, Frozen Orb's lucky hit chance would be 8. And just to be clear, with this information, some skills are just way better than others at lucky hit procs. For example, charge bolts, like I use charge bolts a lot. I would say with not 100%, but with confidence that the lucky hit is per charge bolt. And if you're in point blank melee range, all 5 hits the target. The Nova, I don't know if the Nova is part of the skill. That's hard. You need a long time to test that kind of stuff. So the lucky hit can effectively be over 100%. It's 20, so it's not 100 because it rolls 5 times, and if you do the probability on it, it's never over 100. But I guess it could be over 100 actually, because it could proc in multiple instances, so maybe it is over 100. Anyway, my point is, charge bolts will always be a good skill for lucky hits, and Frozen Orb will always be a bad skill for lucky hits. There's no shot that you scale lucky hit chance to make this skill a good lucky hit skill. Like, the skill is either good for lucky hits or it's bad for lucky hits, because the scaling lucky hits on items and passives multiplies the base. Which, again, kind of sucks because it's cool if you do like game-breaking stuff, but it is a conservative approach to min-maxing from their perspective, I guess. Okay. And if you're wondering, well, if you don't know how it works, then what are you talking about? Well, good news there. Meteor. Lucky hit. 8% chance for a meteor to fall on enemies. Well, I had that passive, and I was using Frozen Orb, and I cleared like half of the dungeon here, and it didn't proc. Like, it didn't proc. It didn't proc even once. So basically, the Frozen Orb proccing Avalanche in the cold build idea, yeah, that wasn't really going to happen. I had a comment on my YouTube. At least a couple comments said that, like, Meteor was not a good thing to test. Again, I was testing for Avalanche procs. Avalanche is lucky hit 10% chance. And we were just ballparking for Frozen Orb. Meteor enchantment effect is lucky hit 8% chance. That's a pretty good test, I think. I mean, yeah, you can't get it 100% on the dot, but like... So those are the setbacks with cold.
Bro.
Now, I'm not saying that cold is going to be a bad build. I think cold is within a margin of error that it could be the best build. But there's a few...
Refund time! Oh my god! Bro, what are you on about? The game isn't out! The game isn't out, bro! The game, these changes don't matter, you dumb bitch!
Thorn build enjoyers are going to refund.
What the fuck are you on about?
They're refunding.
There's going to be OP broken builds on every class, I guarantee you, just by nature of all the stupid damage multiplier items that exist. Bro, I get, like, every single class will have some stupid dog shit that they can use to trivialize the game with. That's just a fact. Druids will as well. Druids will as well.
So that every class will have a build to trivialize the game with. Every class is going to have a broken build, but, you know, I think we might be stretching it with our expectations of Druid, at least.
Now, one's going to be way more broken than the rest, for sure. But, you know, hey, that's going to be the case. Okay, you're like, oh my god, they nerfed the fucking beta version of the game before the game release? No way. Like, who cares, man? Audio echo. Wait, okay, if there's an audio echo, it'll just be this.
Few issues that I couldn't really get past.
What's this?
The fire build I am still considering.
If my face is too close to it.
The other build that I am considering is one that is based off of stuns and lightning. So they buff Charge Bolt a lot. Charge Bolt actually is the... You disagree with Quin? I think Quin's opinion is pretty extreme, but he kind of likes to just have an extreme opinion. I don't know if that's personal or tactical for streamer points or something. I don't know. I think there is a gray area in this case. Like, again, if you played the free version of the game in the last beta weekend, the open beta, and the only reason you wanted to play is because you wanted to play a Thorns Barb, and now a Thorns Barb effectively doesn't exist anymore, but you bought the game anyway, there is a little bit of a gray area, right? It's not black and white. The highest damage single cast mage skill. It's a mouthful. Release 5 bolts, 28 damage each. That's going to be at level 1. And then hitting an enemy 3 times, you do 24 damage to them. So at level 1, it's like a 150 skill, and it's instant. It just happens. You deal extra damage to stunned, or 20% less damage taken from the target hit by them. Very cool. Lightning, it tends to have damage reduction just flat out, and lightning is just hit based, so you can scale it with crit very simply. You can make use of the overpower mechanics, and the enchantment effect of Charge Bolt is pretty interesting. When you stun an enemy, 40% chance to release 3 Charge Bolts. It's not quite a full cast, but Charge Bolts are pretty strong. Charge Bolt is melee, by the way.
I'll get rid of the echo. Watch.
Well, if it does the most damage, Kripp is going to get nerfed. Oh my god, it's going to get nerfed. Well, you know what? It might, because I don't really know. Blizzard's just nerfing whatever I showcase in my videos. I'm the main character. It's me. I'm the main character. Everyone does things around me because I am the center of the universe. Is that what you wanted to hear? All right, that's fine. It's kind of a shot, but they literally did that last time. Okay, they literally did that, and we have subs that are devs on the Diablo 4 team right now. Okay, so it's not that crazy, guys. I'm not an egotistical moron. All right, I hope not. And they buffed the crap out of it. Like, Charge Bolts got... Even though Sork was the most nerfed class, Charge Bolt was the most buffed skill across all the classes. So they just, they're like, we got to make this good. Okay. I don't think it's overpowered, by the way. I'll explain. also incinerate.
shit.
Oh my god, this
guy-
skill is
holy
life-changing.
shit.
Anyway. So yeah, the idea is, how do you stun stuff all the time? Well, while I was leveling, I just did like an arc lash build, and arc lash is really similar to charge bolt. Arc lash is the best basic skill. Charge bolt is the highest damage core skill. The thing is, both these skills are basically melee. Incinerate is not quite melee. Fireball's very far from melee. Frozen Orb's very far from melee. Ice Shards freezes is far from melee. Chain Lightning can hit something 3 screens away. And Charge Bolt does the most damage, but only if you're doing it right in front of you.
Yeah, it's like a Giga Chad, bro.
But again, you can see Quin considering playing Sork right now. He's like, melee Sork, huh? Shock skills have the ability to manipulate the damage, the stun. So I thought I'd make basic attack character. Every 10 times I use Arc Lash, it stuns for 2 seconds. Well, here's the thing. When we get level 30, which is not too far from where we are in the point that we've had betas for. I should have clarified this, but again, it was like 30 minutes into this talk, and I got like 5 hours of sleep and streamed like 30-something hours that weekend. So like, yeah. Level 30 is the level you get your second enchantment slot. In all of the betas so far, you get the first enchantment slot at 15. We've never had the second one. That's where things get really interesting with Sork, because you get to combine synergies off of enchantment slots. So yeah, we're talking about here, when you stun an enemy, 40% chance to release 3 charge bolts. And then you combine that with, when you use a cooldown, enemies around you are stunned for 0.5 seconds. So you combine those two things. And this goes up to like 1 second if you level up the skill, by the way. So that's where it gets really interesting. We haven't hit that point yet. There's a lot of other cool combos too. I want to point out that as cool as that is, like Druid, reduced the duration of crowd impairing effects by 15%. 30 crit damage. Extended duration of ultimate skills by 25%. Fortify for 10%. This got kind of interesting. If you stack defensive skills. Okay. But yeah, basically, they're just boring. In terms of class design, you could tell they spent more dev hours on Sork than the other classes. You could tell, okay? You can tell. Just saying. When you use a cooldown, enemies around you are stunned for 0.5 seconds. That's the enchantment effect for Arc Lash. Now, if we play a build centered around every single defensive cooldown available,
the fuck?
Including like a low cooldown teleport, it's pretty nice.
You can probably interrupt like certain mechanics as well and completely bypass them, I bet.
Some points in there. We can get this to work all the time, basically.
Just resets their attack animation as well, right?
And every time we stun stuff, the charge bolts will go off. And there's actually a data mine unique that you stun targets wherever you end your teleport. So if there's like 10 mobs, and I just teleport in place, it's going to stun all those 10 mobs, each of them,
twice, right?
Twice.
Yeah.
And there's a Paragon node. So some people in chat are asking, it's like, would it actually stun them twice? Obviously, I don't know. But the way that freeze seems to work is if they're like frozen with blizzard, and then you drop like a frost nova, which I did do, it seems to extend the freeze. So what I am guessing, and I am very much guessing, that the trigger of the crowd control does happen when you put it on the monster, but I believe the time is added. Okay, but that is a guess. What I'm explaining here in the build, it possibly doesn't work this way, but I believe it does. Where you get 10 mana each time you stun something. So you kind of get where this is going. It's a pretty fun build. Lightning normally struggles with like AoE clearing.
Do you
It's,
even
like,
count it? Do
pretty
you think it'll even count as stuns if you even stun twice? So you think it counts as double stun?
good at dealing with
I
a
think
few
so.
targets. Not specifically like one target particularly well. It's kind of like a weird build. But I think that mechanic is very powerful for clearing anyway. And Unstable Currents is just a really crazy burst skill for single target. So maybe the single target will be enough. And the Lightning Mastery. Someone says the problem with CC vs DR is that mobs have CC diminishing returns and eventually become unstoppable. Whereas DR immortality is just perma immunity. So there's like a thing. Yeah, this one. So this one is in utility, which is pretty interesting because utility can be applied to boots. Boots is mobility and utility. Most classes get like a mobility, and the mobility ones are fine. There's like when you come in contact with firewall, you get moves. It's not bad. But you can get this one. It's for all classes, but the build in particular makes really good use of it. So 20% increased crowd control duration. This is a stun multiplier. So while enemies are unstoppable, you deal 50% increased damage to them. So 50 damage on one legendary power after their last round of nerfs is like tier 0. Okay, nothing buffs damage by that much. So for this build, where you just like stun everything and everything takes a whole bunch of damage when it's stunned, if afterwards it hits the DR, it's going to take 50% more damage. So the mobs are going to go from not doing anything to then taking 50% more damage, and this is on the boots, right? So, yeah, the DR is a little bit problematic sometimes, but there are advantages as well. I don't believe it works on bosses unless it was bugged. I believe in the first beta, maybe the second beta. I think in the first beta. I put this on my Sork, and my damage on the boss on Ashava or whatever did not go up. So I believe it does not work on bosses. I think bosses are unstoppable without being unstoppable. I think that makes sense. Basically, bosses are not affected by crowd controls. It's not that they're unstoppable. They're just not affected by crowd controls. Yeah. But it's possible that they are unstoppable and it was just bugged for bosses on that beta because it was a beta and it was like a month before the game goes live and maybe they have known bugs. So there's some minuscule copium chance that it will work and every single class is going to use this. It's possible. But I wouldn't bet on that. Verse Mastery. Close enemies take 10% increased damage from your shock skills and deal 20% less damage to you. Critical strikes increase these bonuses by 25 for 3 seconds. So it's very, very powerful. It's a very high stat build. The passives for Paragon for Lightning are otherwise pretty mediocre. Fire is really a standout with Paragon points, but so just to show you guys, because again, I mean, if you've seen the video, we're adding a little bit of value here. So, it's the third one here. Static Surge. So this is one you have to get, and you have to get it because stunning close enemies restores 10 mana. So that build will just have infinite mana, which I believe is good. But yeah, if you look at the actual lightning passives, it's like damage to stunned. What the hell is that? It's like, do I even path to that? Lightning resist? Damage to stunned. Potion healing. Bruh. What is this? Right? I mean, I'd probably take lightning resist life, sure. Damage to stun, 3 mana? Again, for clarity, in Diablo 3, if you increase your mana pool, the regeneration is a percentage of your mana pool, so increasing mana pool not only gives you a higher pool before you run out, but it also increases your regeneration rate. In Diablo 4, your regeneration rate is 10 and is unmodifiable by your mana pool size. So this is literally 3 mana. It does nothing else. Yeah, so they're just garbage. But like the cold ones are equally garbage. Just the fire ones are really good, but they're mechanically different. Like damage reduction from burning, so that works on every single target. Damage reduction from elites and armor, flat armor. This is the only armor node on Sorc, and armor is pretty overpowered. I might be overstating the tankiness of Sorc because of the cooldowns and high resistances, but armor seems stronger than resistances. It's just impossible for me to tell ahead of time where that lands. Look at this. Damage to burning enemies, damage to elites. Dude, like damage to stunned. Like I'm putting this in a perspective of a build that stuns with every ability. And it's still bad, right? So like you compare it to this, you burn everything all the time. If it's burning, it's being dealt damage. If you can't deal damage without burning as fire. Right? So if you look into it a little bit, they're not useless. You're still getting a lot of power from these, but cold and lightning are pretty whatever, but fire on Paragon is really good. So it's important to understand that when you're deciding between builds, I think. But who knows? It's a couple of weeks out. There are going to be ones we'll have to be patient for. But ultimately, I've had quite a bit of fun this weekend. It's certainly been a big learning experience. It looks like the game will be at least a good bit more balanced. I am going to play Sorc. I cannot with confidence say that Sorc is going to be the best class. I definitely did say that to
anyone who's saying that shit. Okay. It's retarded. No one, ultimately, if you're saying, unless you're like a closed beta fucking test.
Okay, so I did say that last patch. Since then, they nerfed Sorc survivability by like 95%. And as I mentioned in the video, Sorc seems to be one of the tankiest classes. Bro, if one class had 20 times the health of all the others, it's just not a crazy statement. I know where he's coming from with this, but I kind of did my homework on that one.
And like you've seen all the end game, you've seen the bosses, and you've seen what shit is like busted mechanically. Doesn't matter. Even if something's like, it comes down to like the content that you're doing, right?
Thanks, Welty.
And even then, they've done so many changes since then. I doubt you'll even know. Like, no one knows until you know. Once there's fucking hundreds of thousands of nerds, sweaty as fuck, all tryharding, it's like water going over different parts of hills, and they're all going down like this fucking valley. And some ones are like really fucked windy streams that take ages, and other ones are these fucking giant waterfalls, and it's like OP as fuck. Just fisting, bro. Fisting straight underground. Okay, and then that's when you'll know what's OP. Right. You'll know what's OP pretty fast. Like 1 week into the game, we're gonna know what's pretty OP. But like anyone who's telling you they know what's OP already currently, they don't know shit.
2 weeks ago, but it looks like things have changed. I think Sorc can be the best class. I think the damage is still quite good. I think the survivability is still, honestly, it's one of the best.
Unless you can time travel, you don't know.
It's not like 10 times better than the next, the next option. The survivability is within the range of the other characters. So I do want to point out, just kind of as an extra note here, I think that if this last playtest was the only playtest that we had available, I hate to say it, but I think I would have considered Barb a lot more. I kind of got emotionally attached to the Sork playstyle in a way, you know? And I've come to a point where I just like playing Sork. But yes, I really doubt that Sork will do more damage than Rogue. But I think it's possible that Sork can still be one of, if not the tankiest characters. So, like, it's pretty good still, right? I don't think I'm making a mistake playing a Sork. I don't think anyone's making a mistake playing a Sork. But yeah, I think I would have had a bit of a different take on which class I'd play. So I do appreciate the active role that the developers for Diablo 4 are taking in rebalancing the game, and if they are going to make drastic changes, it is probably best that they do them before the game actually releases, so that's also good. But for the full hat trick on that to get the full Kripp props, I personally would much rather have the actual patch notes listed in front of me, not just the good things.
True.
So lame.
Nah, he's right. True. I hate that shit. No, it's like when GGG did that bullshit when they gave us some bullshit about some bullshit, and then they actually just patched it completely different, and we got debated. What fucking expansion was that? What patch was that? It's annoying as fuck. Just tell us straight up. Just tell us straight up, especially if the game's not even out. Like that, they're just like, oh, people don't want to see nerfs, dude. Bro, fuck the people. Just show us straight up. Be transparent. Transparency's key, bro. Transparency's key.
Yeah. I think a nasty surprise is not a welcome.
Otherwise, it feels like you're getting misled and they're getting lied to, right? And you're getting manipulated. Which is shit. That's a shit feeling. Then again,
that's definitely the case. That's definitely the point that I've made in the video. Yeah, a flat 10% damage reduction has been added for the Barbarian class. Some skill tree passives had their damage reduction effects reduced to compensate. Barb lost like half to 3/4 of its survivability. This is amazingly misleading. Yeah. To be fair, every class got nerfed, so I don't know. In that spectrum, I don't know. But yeah.
But I didn't feel like that because it's like, well, it's a beta. Who cares? Right.
One, in my opinion. Hope you guys enjoyed yet another Diablo 4 video, and we will be having quite a few more of these when the game actually comes out. Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.
Goodbye. Oh, shit. Betas? Bases up. Wait, what?
This is the part of the stream where I plug the video that has piqued Quin's interest. There you go, chat. He has a hard time reading the title. It's Barbados's horses bathe in the sea. Yeah. We learned about this from just like a guy. Well, it wasn't a guy. It was, he was a bartender. He's like, you totally got to do that. They do this at like 5 in the morning. It looks like it's almost nighttime. No, dude. This is like some real early bird stuff.
Peppados, horses bathe in the sea? What the hell?
Say it again, Quin.
What the hell? It's a shit feeling. Then again, but I didn't feel like that because it's like, well, it's a beta.
I
Who cares?
rewind too much.
Right.
One, in my opinion. Hope you guys enjoyed yet another Diablo. I want to hear video, that pronunciation.
We will be
Is it
having
native English speaker, I believe?
when the game actually comes out.
Okay.
Take care, and we'll see you in the next one.
Yeah.
Goodbye. Oh, shit. Betas? Bases up. Wait, what? Peppados, horses bathe in the sea? What the hell?
Wait, those aren't Diablo 4 barbarians?
What the hell's going on there, brother? What the I mean, I kind of want to make my Druid build right now. Wait, was this Diablo 4 skill tree?
The dude's on it. All right, that's pretty good. I don't know if I have anything else here. I did want to head out early because I am going to be streaming all day tomorrow. I was maybe going to go some of these. I haven't min-maxed the Paragon thing, but yeah, if you guys remember when I said the complexity of the game is going to take people by surprise, and Quin did not agree with me. Man, this is going to be a real undertaking. Because, so I'm not going to do it now, but just so you understand, I'm going to have to look at all the glyphs. There's like 20 of them. The glyphs have different requirements. Some of them scale off of int, some of them scale off of like dexterity. So we have to find the best glyphs, go through the 9 Paragon boards to see which ones have the best nodes around them that we can easily path to in order to scale the glyphs. Then we have to see in like almost like a 3-dimensional space on the best way to organize the glyph board, because you start here and then you go here, but then you design the glyph board. So like I gave this one as an example. So the pathing here on the glyph is really good. So I can attach this there, but the node that's also really good is really far away. This is like 20 points. There's no way you do that. So like probably how you do this is you put that glyph here, and then you put another one here, and then another one here, and then another one here, and then the one that's at the top, you go from there to there. And you can also rotate the glyph boards to change this up. Yeah, so this is like, yeah, this is a lot of work. I don't have it in me to do it right now. But yeah, I gotta do that. Honestly, I haven't decided on what I want to play. I'm still torn between Lightning, Sunstork, and Firewall. Both have their advantages. I honestly still want to kind of think about it a little bit. So I'll see. I think that will be another day. I think I'm going to take it easy for today. And I will wish you guys good night.